Hello, everyone. Yeah, not sick at all. Not sick at all. Lovely to see you all on the chats already. Craig won the first chat and the purple crown. Hurrah! Hi, Rita. How you going? Mushrooms on toast. Excellent. Hello, Cotty and John. Craig has the whole family together. Great to hear. Who else have we got? David and Fiona, of course. Great to see you all. What do you think about my Justin Bieber hair? I think it's just out of control. So I think we need to do something about it tomorrow. Right. But more importantly, who have I not said hello to? I think I've said hello to everyone. Well, I said hello to Craig and all the family, but Karen and Joan, lovely to see you again. Doopy-doopy-doo. That's all the chats we've had so far. Oh, hey, Shell and Andrew. I saw your picture of your pancakes. Age is just wafting out of the bottle. Excellent. Oh, here comes Dad in the side gate. We're all rushing around. Hello, Dan. How you going? Dan, oh, you're in Alba, in Lange. How lovely. Let's get this wine open. I'm imagining, Dan, that you're not drinking Robinson Pinot 2010 today. Then slightly different. I love that part of the world. Slightly different label from what we've got today. As part of the journey. Hi, Peter and Karen. How are you going running the mushrooms to the table? I'm not allowed to be sick. I know, Peter and Karen. I do need to get over it before I fly. Mum said, go home. I said, I can't go home. I've got to do drinks with Kate. And she said, well, go home after that and don't come to work tomorrow. And I said, I've got to go and get my hair cut tomorrow. It's just been a bit of a week. Anyway, I'm going to sleep this off. I'm going to have a lovely glass of 2010 Pinot Noir with you guys, which hopefully I can taste through the honey and ginger. And Mum's making me some duck risotto. She landed on in the end. And we're going to enjoy this wine. So I'm going to try not to sneeze and I'm going to try not to cough, but I can't guarantee that both of those things won't happen. Zach and Jack, I did not decant the wine, as you saw. I don't think this wine needs to be decanted. You just need to keep it standing up, and there might be a little bit of sediment in the bottom. So that'd be the only reason that you'd think about decanting it to get the sediment out. And I'd rather just pour it sort of gently and just leave a little bit in the bottom at the end. It's going to open up and change in the glass really quickly anyway. It's got that beautiful aged Pinot character. And Craig, you're asking what the picture of wine was in the glass on the bookmark for tonight. I think it was either a bottle of Pinot that we'd been putting in and out of the bottle for a half a day. That was the one, if you remember, we had the photo shoot of me. Oh, it was on the email that I sent you of me spitting wine out and then getting the giggles. So that was the same photo shoot, and that wine got a bit cloudy and got a bit oxidized as well. So that's why it's a slightly weird color and looks a bit cloudy, I think. Anyway, this wine has got a bit of a garnety sort of note to the color. Who's Tallulah? If Tallulah's barking at my dog, she's in big trouble. Oh, it's the cat. Where's Polly? She was behind me. Oh, Polly's in a state too, particularly now she's heard me talking about aeroplanes. All right, wine. It is, I know, Connie, it's so forest floor, isn't it? It's such a beautiful nose. And yes, David, it has got a black skirt and a black cap, looking a little bit more somber than the new labels. It possibly was a barrel sample, Zach and Jack. I can't remember where we got that wine from. It might have even just been out of the press tray as we were pressing it off during vintage. I've got a heap of stock photos, photos that were taken for us by our beautiful photographer, Catherine, who, lots of pictures of us holding glasses of wine and stuff. And I grabbed that one and went, oh, that looks okay. But yeah, I agree. It wasn't the most glamorous looking shot. Red wine though, so I get points for that surely. Okay. I'm getting a little bit a little bit sexier, a little bit huskier in my speaking voice. So the wine, let's talk about the wine before I lose my voice completely. It has got such a beautiful nose, this wine. Here you go, Dad. Richard's come in. He's finished getting the first bit of the bread job done. He's got a heap of glasses to wash from the boxes that I took up to Newcastle. I could probably help him with that too before lunch on Sunday. That's also, I'll also be here at lunch on Sunday unless I'm sick as a dog. Hey, David Inchley is wanting to point out that the 22 Robinson Pinot got the Huon's Real Review Australian Wine of the Week. It did indeed. Of course, we don't have any more of that to sell, but it's always the case that we get a really good shout out just as the wine is sold out, but that's very good. But the Robinson wines, and I think this 2010, this is the first proper serious single vineyard Robinson Pinot that we released. So this was when we just went, this is something special. We can't just blend this material back into Devil Bean Creek or Estate Pinot. It needs to be its own wine. So, okay, very Brenda Vaccaro. Are you talking about my hair? I'm now making a mess of it. So I'm just gonna hang on. I look like the guy out of Black Books now. I give up on my voice. Thank you, Kay. Hello, Alison. Lovely to see you. All right. Off chops. I haven't put the wine in my mouth yet. Bernard, thank you, Fiona, David, and Fiona. I do look a lot. No, I don't quite look like Manny yet. I know someone else who looks like Manny. Linda, I don't know if you're on the thing, but Steve looks a little bit like Manny. All right, here we go. Let's smell this wine and taste this wine. You guys are way ahead of me. David, you're not Manny. No, my hair looks like Bernard's when he goes like this and he's like, ugh. Anyway, here we go. I've made it even worse. Jill's brought me some food. Thank God. Are you going to show it off, Jill?
I can never get the right spot.
No, come here. Come here. Yeah.
Oh,
and hold, there you are. And look.
Yes.
No, you have to do it that way.
Mind you don't slurp the juices out.
Oh, there's juices.
Yeah.
I thought it was supposed to be risotto.
It is risotto.
Risotto's
put
not
that
supposed
around
to
to make it look beautiful on the plate.
Sloppy risotto.
No, not sloppy risotto. Sloppy. I'm taking it away.
No, please give it back to me. Everyone's saying hi, Jill. Kay's saying hi. David's saying hi. Thank you, Mum. I will get into that. Kay made the pancakes. I love those pancakes. They are so good. I know that Shell and Andrew are making the pancakes too. Okay, this wine. How gorgeous is this wine? Let's get back to the wine. We'll get onto the food in a minute. Jill, you're wanting to hog the camera now, aren't you? Yes. Come on back again. Come and tell people about the wine. So Robinson was the first ever single vineyard. No, the Duck was the first ever single vineyard wine. Thank you, Mum. She brought me a thingy for to put my hot plate on so I don't burn the table. Does Jill do takeaway? Jeff and Sue want to know, Mum. I don't think so. So forest floor. My hair is more K-pop. Oh, cool. Thanks, Craig. I might leave it then, shall I? It needs I need to put product in it and stuff to make it go in the right directions, and I can't be doing with that. The smell. So Rita is saying the smell from the bottle is strong compared to in the glass. I think because the bottle's got a little narrow neck, then it's more concentrated. You put it in a glass and it's wider, and the smell is kind of whirling around more. So you get a more complexity of aroma but less intensity, if that makes sense. Okay. No, Jill doesn't do takeaway. You have to come to her lunch on Sunday, although that's booked out now. But anyway, next one. Venturini effect from the bottle. Thank you, Kay. Venturi effect. Sorry, Venturini. That was one of our old cellar door guys. So forest floor. There's kind of leafy, earthy, crunchy, walking around in a autumnal forest kind of smells here. We've also got very soft, dried cherries, a little bit of dried strawberry. There's a little bit of raspberry on the nose as well, but it's all it's going quite savoury. There's a mushroomy note to it, which is why I thought it would go well with mushrooms. It's got a slightly meaty note to it as well, which I think will be beautiful with duck for the people who are doing duck. It's also got that classic, still got that classic Robinson herbal note. I think Hugh and Hook said about the 22 that it looked like it had quite a lot of bunch to it, which is, he often says that, and that wine has no whole bunch at all, but it gets this herbal note that can be, I think, confused with whole bunch fermentation. You get that sort of chopped rosemary, thyme, oregano notes, and I think that gives that wine a savouriness and a complexity that otherwise it would be completely kind of linear and focused on the fruit when it's young and maybe not have this ageability. I think with those herbal notes and the bright fruit kind of rounding off into dried fruit and forest floor kind of characters is a really nice way for this wine to age. Jill, Fiona's saying your duck's a winner. They're making your duck recipe. They made that tonight. I think it's a great one as well, particularly with aged Pinot. So how's it going with potpourri notes? Absolutely. Excuse me. I'm just going to do a little not nose blow, just a little wipe. That's so exciting. Great television. All right. Potpourri notes, dried rose petals, all those little floral notes. Hello, Polly. Polly's been being fed duck skin and duck fat by Jill today. And she's decided that she's only going to eat duck. So she can smell the duck in my risotto and she thinks she'd quite like some of that. So she's standing very close. I think it's going amazingly with Joan's mushroom arancini. Joan's famous mushroom arancini. They make a showing quite often when we've got a nice Pinot to drink, and I always have FOMO when you tell me about the mushroom arancini. I think there's a little bit of pomegranate on the nose as well, still with this wine, which is a very Robinson thing for me. Pomegranate, molasses, but just very light, not kind of heavy to the fore. It's just in the background. You're not allowed to bark at me, Paul. So let's see how it goes with the food. Well, that is very ducky risotto. It's got shredded duck through it, and Mum's made it with duck stock as well. It's delicious. Let's see what it does with the wine. So for anyone who came to the Navvy lunch that we had here, Julian left us all the duck carcasses, and Mum made the most incredible duck stock out of those duck carcasses. And that's what's gone into my risotto tonight. So if that doesn't fix me up, I think it's like the next step up from chicken soup, right? Duck risotto with duck stock. Polly won't go back to boiled chicken easily. Absolutely not, Sue. Okay, Peter and Karen are saying that the wine is amazingly fresh for a 15-year-old wine. I agree. I think that's partly to do with the quality of the fruit. I'm going to just get that little bit of hair. That's better. And do that. Oh, that's better. I don't look quite so insane. The wine looks fresh because the quality of the fruit was excellent to start off with. 2010 was quite a warm year. People down on the Mornington Peninsula got sort of excited about 2010 and were sort of calling it the wine of the century a bit early on. But I think a lot of the wines tended to be a bit forward and tended to sort of age into slightly flabby shapes as I got older. And I think that our duck Pinot is less successful as an aged wine than the Robinson Pinot from 2010. I think because the Robinson Pinot always has more brightness and more drive and more focus, that's really worked in its favour with this wine. It's aged extraordinarily well because of the quality of the fruit, but it's also aged extraordinarily well because it's under screw cap. A lot of you noticed that the bottle was very full. So there's very little space for oxygen. The screw cap, yeah, there you go, Cotty. The very small air gap would also help with the wine aging. But I'm finding that our wines are aging quite slowly on a regular basis, particularly the Robinson vineyard. So Craig wants to know, were you picking your allocation back then from the Robbo vineyard? So yeah, these are the same vines that we take fruit from today. Dad's looking at me and he's nodding. Good. I was like, oh no, I'm saying the wrong thing. Yeah, so these are the same Pinot Noir vines that we make into the Robinson Pinot Noir today, that we take fruit from. There's a few parcels that we make decisions about, so it might not be exactly the same parcels, but we've been working with those same vines since about 2008. Actually, we started working with them in 2008, thinking that it was going to be a good way to grow our cheaper Pinots, but the character of the wine really shone through very early on, and made itself known. So it became very important. By the way, I'm wearing my Drinks with Kate hoodie today, partly because it's cold, but also because I feel like today's a pretty special day for all of us, and I'm going to not go there too much right now, but at the end of our session, we're going to have a little toast to our friend Deb, who lost her fight with cancer earlier this week. She was one of the early members of the Drinks with Kate clan. She's a dear friend of many of ours, and we're going to miss her heaps. So I thought, this is, our little family. I wanted to celebrate our little family by wearing my hoodie today and drinking a special wine. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore because it's going to make me cry, but she will be missed, absolutely. And we'll come back and we'll have a little toast to her at the end of the session. Okay. Cheaper wine, how good. I know. Look, Zach and Jack, we thought, we've learnt so much since 2008, 2010. We've learnt how much it costs to grow fruit down here on other people's vineyards, because the Robinson vineyard was the second vineyard that we started working with after our own. So those parcels of fruit that we started working with from the Robinson vineyard was the first vineyard that didn't belong to us that we were taking fruit from. So we didn't really know in the early days how much it was going to cost us to grow fruit on someone else's land. We thought that back then in 2008 we didn't have all of our wine was single vineyard until we started buying fruit from the Robinson vineyard. So, and that was something that we kind of hung our hat on. Like all of our wines are from this vineyard, our family vineyard, and that's what we specialize in. And then we realized that we really couldn't make enough, and the only wine that didn't have to come from the McIntyre vineyard was Devil Bend Creek. So when we started taking on, and that was our sort of rule for ourselves. So when we started taking on fruit from the Robinson vineyard, then in our minds, the only place it could go was Devil Bend Creek, because that was our wine that we were making from just Mornington Peninsula fruit rather than Derrill Road vineyard fruit. The fruit, the way we work with other vineyards that we don't own is that we don't buy the fruit as such, but we lease the vines and we do the viticulture ourselves, which means that we take an equal part in the risk of if it's a difficult vintage and we don't get a great crop, we don't get the quality that we want, or we don't get the quantity that we want, we still pay the same rent for the vines, and we incur the costs of it being more expensive to grow the grapes because we didn't get as many as we hoped to, or that they weren't as good as we wanted them to be. It still costs money to run it. we also, now what was I going to say? I'm losing track of my own thoughts because they're so deep and important. I'll come back to that. I'll read Fiona's. I love the fact that Fee says, I love that the Mac and the Rob are different animals as well. Good, but different. Absolutely. I think that they are, they're super different. And the winemaking for the Pinots has always been pretty much the same. Like every now and again, Dad will slip a little bit of whole bunch in the past. 2013 was the last year that he did that with the Robinson. But this one de-stemmed 100%. Shell wants to know when it was picked. We may have been at Vancouver Olympics. We're not as fresh as that wine in 2025. So it would have been picked in March, probably. Possibly February, Dad's saying, like late February or early March. We don't have the book in front of us, so we can't tell you for sure, but that sort of time. I think, and I think, Fiona, that's why we ended up going down the route of saying, okay, let's make the estate wine a wine that's blended across different vineyards. Let's make Devil Bend Creek wine, young vine, fruit wine, wine from theoretically vineyards that are cheaper to run, but we haven't really been able to sort of keep that up. So that's another story for another day. But then we had the Garden Vineyard, the Robinson Pinot and Chardonnay, and the McIntyre Chardonnay and Pinot, and we were picking out the best of the fruit from both of those vineyards to make a single vineyard wine. The Robinson, as I said before, there's sort of 3 parcels of fruit that usually get up to the final podium before we make a final decision. The MV6, I think, has always gone into the Robinson Pinot. MV6 has always been a component in the Robinson single vineyard. And then Backblock MV6 is like the backbone of this wine. And then we've got some 777, early days 777, so probably 777 in this one. There's some Pommard that sometimes gets a Guernsey, and 667 is more often than not in the Robinson Pinot in more recent days. So Craig just got censored for mentioning Mr. H Big Wine at it again. Oh, wow. Interesting, Craig. Sorry, I had to have a bite of that. Mum's put pumpkin on the top, which is lovely. It's kind of sweet. I always think pumpkin goes better with Chardonnay or Pinot Gris, but it's working really well with this. Okay. Alison just had to take a call from the tax office in the UK, and a certain dog ate 2 chunks of cheese. Uh-oh. Whoops. Naughty dog. Someone might have a bit of a tummy ache tomorrow. I can tell you stories about dogs that we've known eating very big pieces of cheese and surviving, but maybe being a little bit windy for a little while afterwards. Rita wants to know, do we look for the same clones across the vines we work with? No, Rita, we find we're basically, when we look to work with other vineyards, it's usually friends of ours who either have been selling fruit to someone else or have been having the fruit made into wine for them, and then deciding that they don't want the hassle of owning bottled wine under their own brand and having to sell it, because it's quite a lot of work. So, when we started, and in 2010, to be fair, at 2008, I wasn't closely involved with Moorooduc. I had come back to the family business, but I was still trying to pass my MW in 2008 and 2009. In 2010, I finally passed it. And when I wasn't, so the exam was in June. I got my results in September. And then for the rest of that year and a few years afterwards, I was celebrating the fact that I was a Master of Wine. So I wasn't as involved in sort of the negotiations back then as Dad was and still is. But I imagine he and Hugh were talking, and some vines became available for us to work with, and he kind of offered us those vines, because Hugh was selling fruit to lots of other companies, and he was selling quite a lot of fruit to Penfolds for a while. In fact, the apocryphal story that I like to tell, I'm not sure if it's true or apocryphal, is that some of that Chardonnay that goes into the Robinson Chardonnay was originally part of the early vintages of Yattarna for Penfolds, and then they decided to go completely Tasmanian with that wine, and it was made available to us instead, which is pretty exciting. Okay, sorry, Fee, I probably said something that you're responding to. Craig was just questioning the merit of this year's top 10. Wow, I know. It's oh yes, it is a long time to wait. Yeah, my MW was like, yeah, absolutely, it's a long time to wait. And they used to send you a fax back in the olden days, so you knew that the results were coming out on a certain day. And because it was London, it was always late at night here, so we'd be sitting around here trying not to look nervous, and you'd hear the fax machine go off, and I'd go out and pull the bit of paper off the fax machine and say, oh, you failed again, bad luck, here are your marks. And on the year that I passed, I actually got a phone call the day before results came out. They don't tell you that until you become an MW, that in those days they would send the fails out by fax, but when you passed something, they would ring you the day before and tell you passed. So that was quite nice. And I think that I'd failed so many times that I think we decided not to put any really special wine in the fridge that night, just in case. We didn't want to jinx it. So we still drank some good stuff. We managed to get it cold pretty quickly. And I wish I had recorded what we drank, but it was absolutely appropriately celebratory. Mum and Dad and I were very relieved and very happy when that came through. There was some Burgundy, there was some expensive champagne, I know that, and I think there was something really fancy from the Trimbarks in Alsace, because I love those wines. The Pinot top 10 is practically all bigger bodied wines. Yeah, absolutely, Craig. I've got to say, this year, I'm not being critical of the Halliday guide this year, because I changed my philosophy, because I felt that we were putting our wines in to be tasted to meet the deadline earlier than they should be, and they weren't showing at their best. And so I made a decision this year not to send in 2023 Pinots until May, and the deadline's end of December. So those ones didn't get into the Halliday guide at all. Well, I presume they didn't. I haven't looked at it yet. But the wines that did get into the Halliday guide for us were wines that we just bottled. The 24 Estate Chardonnay was in and got an okay review, but it was bottle shocked and looks so much better now than it would have when Jane tasted it. The Pinot Gris on Skins 24 also got a review, and the Pinot Gris 2024 as well. And the Pinot Gris, the white Pinot Gris 2024, got a gold medal, got 95 out of 100, and got a really rave review. So that just goes to show that those Pinot Gris these days are stepping up early and looking good. So that was exciting. We didn't put the single vintage Chardonnays in either. So they'll be hopefully in next year. So we've kind of mucked up the flow of things for them, but it seemed to work better for me that way. Okay. Peter and Karen, I'm sure you have some good stuff that you can put your... Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a frog in my throat now. I feel like I might have missed a question before Craig got censored. So if somebody asked a question that I didn't answer and we've moved on, please ask again. How's the wine opening up Thank you, Rita. I think the Pinot Gris is pretty amazing. It took a really long time for people to get on board with the Pinot Gris, but we've stuck to our guns, and I'm really excited to notice that people are also coming on board with it too. I was going to say as well, Hugh and Hook's written some nice reviews for some of the 23 Pinots. So that's pretty awesome. How's the wine looking? Fee says it's opening into some nice umami, roasty meatiness. I agree. And I think that it's coming into its own with sort of ducky flavours. You could match this wine to a slow cooked piece of lamb as well. Would be really happy with that too. This is a brilliant match. Well done, Jill. Thank you. Jill's prompting me with lines. So, 2010 Robinson Pinot Noir. Richard, you'll be able to tell me off the top of your head, when did we make the first garden vineyard, single vineyard Pinot Noir? Was that also in 2010? Or was that later? I think that was later.
Well, 2010 was, we did the trial that made it a possibility.
So he's saying 2010 we did the trial that made it the possibility, but we hadn't kind of formulated a plan for it. 2010 was also the year that we made the two different Shirazes, one that was whole bunch and one that wasn't. So that was also, so we were playing around with whole bunch. But I think it's lovely to have the opportunity to taste this 15-year-old wine. I think it's amazing. I mean, it's not young vines. That's worth remembering. Oh, Peter and Karen just did the last top up. Clearly there was less wine in this bottle. Leaky bottle. It's a big problem, Peter and Karen. You know, these leaky bottles, we try really hard not to put the wine in leaky bottles, but sometimes it just happens. I hope you've got something to kind of crack on with afterwards. This wine, Craig wants us to print a vintage guide, maybe for an anniversary. Maybe. I think, though, the problem with that is, well, we could absolutely do that. I think, though, that I'm always surprised when I come back and look at these older wines to see how well they're kind of hanging on. As I said before, I think the Robinson 2010 has aged better. Pinot Noir has aged better than the McIntyre. Not to say the McIntyre is not yummy, but it's just a bit bigger and a bit broader and sort of hasn't kind of held its freshness in the way that this wine has. But yeah, Craig, I think that would be a good idea. We've got lots of plans to do extensions. We want to do a map of all of our vineyards to go out to people. But I think a vintage guide's a good idea as well. Any more questions? Zach and Jack, are you already working with younger vines at Robbo or still plenty of runway on the established one? So the Robinson vineyard hasn't needed to be replanted for a while. There was a bit of grafting over to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay from Semillon and possibly Merlot. I'm not sure, but we've certainly got in our Chardonnay vines, we've got some vines that were once Semillon, and we had a bit of a head scratch about how we tell whether the Semillon's come back on some of the vines and hasn't. We got the lovely Dylan Grigg, who also has done brilliant. So he's Viticulturist of the Year in the Halliday book, which I think is absolutely deserved. Another reason that I'm not upset at all with the Halliday book, because Dylan is amazing and he consults to us. We see him a couple of times a year just to have a bit of a walk in the vineyard, and he's got amazing knowledge about regenerative farming and also just about viticulture in general. So he came and walked through the Robinson vineyard while the leaves were all still on the vines, and he said, "Oh, that's a Semillon, that's a Semillon. That is Chardonnay," by looking at the leaves. And he said, "This is how you can tell the difference." So that was very helpful. The ones that the Semillons come up, we now know what we have to do with those, and the ones that we know have still got Chardonnay on top, we know what we need to do with those as well. So that's very good. But I because the Robinson vineyard doesn't belong to us, we can make suggestions about how vines are going, but the Robinson vines are all pretty healthy and relatively youthful compared to the oldest vines that we've got in the vineyard here still. Dad's making noises but not words. Did you have anything to add?
You want to talk about the transition?
Only if you come over here and say it, because I can't be bothered to repeat it. They can't hear you when you're sitting there talking, and I have to, and we have silence, and then I say what you've said again. So come over here and tell people a little bit about the transitions.
There are, within the general way that we grow grapes, the two separate things about that are sort of fundamental, and one of them is called spur pruning, the other is cane pruning. And a lot of the vines, and particularly in this part of the peninsula, were spur pruned, and we've been gradually transitioning to cane pruning because we think it's better. We think the yields are better, and the yields on the spur pruned vines has been dropping. And this was where the dilemma came with our block of Chardonnay that we take fruit from the Robinson vineyard. It was Chardonnay grafted onto Semillon, as Kate was saying, and the grafts were quite high, and there was a concern that maybe if we converted from spurs to canes, we'd find half the vines were back to Semillon, which we didn't want. But Dylan was wonderful and could show us how you could tell the difference between the leaves.
Yep.
And so that has happened, that transition has happened, and the vineyard looks terrific. And we're hoping to get a good season. We're hoping to get a little bit more fruit from there than we have in recent years.
Yeah, we've
That
been.
was what I-
Thank you. Yeah, good on you, Dad. Thank
Okay.
you. He also gave me the chance to blow my nose, so that was great. Thank you.
More of this delicious wine.
I'll have a little bit more of this delicious wine. Thank you. Yeah, we've been finding. Thank you. We've been finding that we've been getting very, very small crops, particularly from the Chardonnay and the Robinson vineyard. So this conversion, we're hoping, is going to rejuvenate things and give us a bigger crop, but maintain the quality, which is good for everyone. Because I think if you don't have, if you love Chardonnay and you don't have some Robinson Chardonnay in your cellar every year, then you're crazy, because it's such a delicious wine. It's beautiful when it's young. It ages really, really well. We're talking about Pinot tonight, but the Chardonnay also is incredible. So, more questions. Peter and Karen, when you're doing a vintage guide, it would be nice to see something like the current year will be like. So that's particularly difficult, Peter and Karen. We sort of make guesses. I think if we did try and do a vintage guide, then we would try and group them and say, vintage, 2011 was one out of the box, and hopefully we never have another vintage like that again. But 2012 and 2016 maybe have some similarities, but I think that would take quite a lot of talking between me and Richard and Jeremy, and we'd have to really kind of nut out that document. But yeah, okay, I'll take that on board. Craig, you've been watching some videos on him. His knowledge is crazy level. It'd be really fun if one of these days we could do a little walk in the vineyard with Dill. We'll talk to him about that with you guys. Or when he comes down to have a walk in the vineyard, maybe I can get him to stay for dinner and do a drinks with Kate one time. Okay, we're going to have to add an electric whiteboard to YouTube so Richard can add drawings. Absolutely. So Zach and Jack, are you wondering what spur pruning versus cane pruning looks like? It's pretty easy. A cane's long and it's got a minimum. Dad will be able to tell me what we're doing here, but when I was studying it, for most vines you need a minimum of sort of 8 to 10 buds on a cane, and a spur is a 2-bud a 2-bud spur and you get 2 shoots coming off it, which are going to be the fruiting shoots. Dad's going to correct me now.
No. The key thing here is that the shoots that are likely to produce fruit are shoots that have grown the year before. So you want to have a certain number of buds that are 1 year old to get fruitful shoots in the next season. And you can either have that as a number of small bits of those shoots, and that's spurs, and you would find if it's spur parent vine, there's a permanent trunk and there are permanent arms on each side, and when you're pruning, you have maybe 12 2-bud spurs. It's a different strategy with cane pruning, because you're going to have all of those buds that you hope will have fruitful shoots will be on 2 canes. So the canes might have 10, 12 buds on them, and then maybe one on one side and one on the other side. So that's the basis behind this, without wanting to spend too much time.
I think that's excellent. Thank you. You've been called Richard GPT by Craig. He's very cheeky. Thanks, Dad. Dad, before you go away, John Sunner is asking, when do we expect bud burst considering the warmer late winter? We're hoping not too soon. We have got it. Sorry, you're right. We do. Thanks, Jill.
Before the bud actually bursts, it swells up, and you can see that this is going to burst and it's going to have a shoot growing out of it. And there's lots and lots of those in the vineyard right now. And occasionally, but that is unusual at the moment, that there are some where you can actually see some green leaves coming out. So we're on the cusp of
we've got some pretty scary weather coming up for the next couple of weeks, don't we? So we hope that they don't get too excited in the short term. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. Nature is cruel. Jeff and Sue said very informative. Thank you, Richard. And Craig would like a podcast between Dylan and Richard. So we'll have to work on that as well. That'd be amazing. So guys, I think that's some good technical stuff. Now we're going to get to the touchy-feely stuff. And I mentioned it before. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone's kind messages. Those of you who knew Deb or who saw my post about Deb. Tallulah, I'm trying to do a serious bit to camera, please. About Deb. Deb finishing her life journey on Tuesday. I think it's incredibly sad for Rob and for the kids. We all hoped that Deb would have some more time with us. We were hoping to have a glass of champagne with her when she was feeling up to it. And none of those things are going to happen now. But I know that a lot of you are also friends of hers, either through Drinks with Kate or were friends with hers long before that, and you came to Drinks with Kate through introductions. So I really feel very lucky to have spent some time with her, and I would like to raise my glass to Deb Vitesi. Love you lots. We'll miss you. Cheers. I'm going to go now because I've made myself cry and I hopefully haven't upset too many people. But we would like to see Rob back at Drinks with Kate, and it'll take a while, but we're going to be there for him and the family now. And that's what Drinks with Kate family is all about. We're a big, happy family. We love you all. Take care. I'm not going to be doing Drinks with Kate next week because I'll be in transit, but we're going to do Drinks with Kate from England with the new Chardonnay in a fortnight's time. So that'll give me time to get myself together, get over my cold, get over being in England. We talked about having egg and bacon rolls with Chardonnay to celebrate the fact that I'm in England at breakfast time. So let's work on that. I'll send you all an email. Love you all lots. Thanks a lot. There is a very big hole in the world now, Cotty. And take care of each other. All right. Cheers, guys. Love you lots. Bye. Pancakes, Alison. That's a good idea. We'll talk about